For us boys, the summer of 1959 was as cataclysmic as a meteor. Washington's historic plague, our wild neighborhood party, and my first acquaintance with death. These are the things I remember so vividly from that bright season, along with the accompanying feelings of fear, revelation, and wonder. I was 8, the time in life when everything is still new, and some things are perceived clearly, but others are murky and not understood. That is to say, those things in the realm of adults. What my friends and I knew was a grab bag of information overheard, along with information we made up and told one another and accepted as fact. Not really so different from the grown-up world, I suppose. We existed in a smaller world of our own daunting challenges, peopled with gods and monsters. Sometimes they were the same. It was a scorchingly hot summer. Maybe the record-high temperatures had something to do with our plague. But Washington summers are always fairly hot. The city is built on a swamp, after all. What were L'Enfant and Banneker thinking? Paris, I suppose. Wide diagonal boulevards, circles, obelisks, bronze and granite heroes, but built on marshy land where cattle once grazed. The city grew like a swamp, too. Our neighborhood, just over the district line near Chevy Chase Circle on Connecticut Avenue, was lushly green in summer, even deep into August. Connors Lane, originally just a farm road, was jungly and mossy. Virginia creeper and ivy grew on houses. Grass grew from cracks in the sidewalk and street. Few people had perfectly tended yards, or exotic nursery specimens from Johnson's Flowers or American Plant Food. What grew was what was used to growing: boxwoods, dogwoods, oaks, holly and yew, maples and mulberries, and of course the iconic cherry trees, although they weren't indigenous and had been given to the city of Washington by the Japanese government in 1912. My mother told us that when the Japanese bombed Pearl Harbor, an angry mob set the cherry trees at the Japanese embassy on fire. But cherries thrived all over the city, their delicate pink blossoms so very lovely in spring, giving our stolid, stony city a lighter feel, like a frill of petticoat peeking from under a nun's habit. In our old neighborhood, steps and walks crumbled and mold grew on walls. We didn't worry about things like mold back then. We worried about polio and radioactivity. The big oaks created a dense canopy on our lane, a tunnel where we boys foraged and loitered and ran amok like the little beasts that we were. The light under the canopy gave everything a dark, watery green cast in summer, a green not like any of the greens in my new box of 64 Crayolas. Connors Lane had been part of a large farm established in 1848 by 2 Irish immigrant brothers of that name. The farm had been sold, although a remnant of the family still lived down the lane, toward Western Avenue, where most of the newer houses were. Some of those new houses belonged to second-generation Jewish couples whose parents or grandparents had escaped Europe before the Holocaust. My grandfather said our neighborhood, because it wasn't part of the more hoity-toity enclave closer to Connecticut Avenue, was one of the few places in Chevy Chase where Jews were allowed to live, which I didn't understand but was told not to talk about. Our end of the lane, close to Brookville Road, consisted of mostly older houses of assorted vintages. My grandmother called us the Whitman Sampler because our neighbors were all so different, and from somewhere else. Other countries, but also from other places in the U.S. Not unusual for the Washington area, but looking back, it was unusual for most of America. We certainly didn't think it was different then. As far as we knew, it was just like everywhere else. Everywhere else must have diplomats, government people, and refugees from one bad thing or another, is what we thought, if we thought about it at all.